It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Since our founding, we've been revolutionizing hair removal with cutting-edge technology and a commitment to empowerment. The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. Experience the future of hair removal today at ulike.com, because at Ulike, beauty is about looking and feeling good. That's ulike.com. Ulike. With Ease US, make studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects, featuring 468 natural AI voices. Customize the volume, mood, and pauses to perfectly match your content. Plus, capture high quality videos with no watermark. Record your screen, webcam, and voice, and save them instantly to your computer. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Just use AMP-Pace.
AMP-Pace.
What's happening? The Pete Sousa Show. We are coming to you from Flower Mound, Texas. We're in the Flower Mound studios here. Hoping you guys can hear and see me just fine. Scotty, give me a thumbs up. We are rocking and rolling. Of course, you see the logo in the top of the screen or up in the left-hand corner. We're presented by Slovacics, Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers. Of course, D1. Can't forget Crawford Austin Properties and Extraco Bank, of course. I was driving up here to the DFW area yesterday, and of course, I stopped at Slovacics, got a kolache, and I rewarded myself for a job well done and a week full of great shows. And that was before today, where we got Jake Hatch coming up from Locked On Cougars, and we also have Gary Bohannon, former Baylor quarterback, BYU quarterback, USF, hoping to be a quarterback in the NFL. We're getting a chance to talk to him as he trains. I'm looking forward to hearing where he is at in his process right now as far as preparing for the NFL and teams he's been talking to. And I love asking guys this: what teams will get if they can give a roster spot or an opportunity to somebody like Gary Bohannon. Yesterday, first of all, a couple life things. I'm calling a softball game today for ESPN. God bless Mike Leslie from WFAA. And here's why. WFAA out of Dallas. Mike and I are remote broadcasters, right, for ESPN in some of the softball games. And I am such an idiot. So a lot of stuff going on this week. I get the call, hey, can you do this game for us? No problem. Okay, we have to send you a kit. I send an address to Justin Nusser, who's in charge of overseeing the broadcast side for Texas Tech. They're sending me a remote kit. I missed the address by like 2. So somewhere in North Texas is a broadcasting kit, a remote kit that I'm going to need to call this game play-by-play. So I got everything's filled out. I'm all prepared. All I need now is a broadcast kit. Well, I'm calling the game on Friday for the softball series. Mike Leslie is calling it on Saturday. Now, I'm waiting on my kit to get here, but like I'm peering out the window, watching every car that drives by, hoping it's a FedEx truck. Honestly, again, I like to say this, sober 13 years, it reminds me of my days. I'm looking out the window, waiting for a guy to come deliver me something that I was looking for. You know what I'm saying? So it's a desperate feeling. In parachutes Mike Leslie, who is so cool. I'm probably going to meet him today at American Airlines Arena at 2:30 to get the broadcasting remote kit that he has so I can use it for today, and then I'll give it back to Leslie tomorrow. He's got to go for the Raptors Mavs game tonight to cover that. I had dinner last night in Dallas with members of the Raptors traveling staff. My man Matt Devlin, play-by-play guy, Alex McKechnie. He's a famed physical therapist from Scotland. Guys from Glasgow, Scotland. Which Shaquille O'Neal really brought him into the NBA because of the work that he had done with Shaq. He spent 15 years, I think, with the Lakers, and he's been with the Raptors forever. And I wish I could tell you everything these guys said, but that's just not how it goes. You have to respect the privacy there, but it's stories for days. And one thing hit me as I was lucky to be Matt is one of my best friends. He's a mentor of mine. So a lot of times Matt's like a stand-up comedian who I see him maybe once a year. So he kind of freshens up his act. But Matt and I have some of the same stories, and when we're together in the same audience, we can kind of tag team off each other, because I used to spot for Matt and do stats for him when I was like in bad shape as an alcoholic and drug addict. So we got plenty of stories there. 13 years ago, Matt was one of my first calls when I went to treatment because I had to tell him I couldn't spot for him anymore. I think internally he was like, thank God, this dude needs to kind of get some help. But on the other end of the phone, if you know Matt, the play-by-play guy for the Raptors, he's a voice of Turner in the NBA in the playoffs for years. Petey, it's no problem. Go ahead and get the help you need, all right? But and that was great. That was like what I needed at the time. And, you know, Matt was there for me when I got my act cleaned up, and he's helped me get into this side of things, right on the right side. But anyways, Matt is hilarious because he is constantly telling stories from back in the day. You know, it's the story he told here on this podcast or on this show over the summer about Matt had a game for the NFL on Fox, and I'm driving Matt, and Tony Siragusa over the San Francisco Bridge. I'm a terrible driver, and Tony Siragusa's like, bro, I want you to go back to Charlotte. I want you to rent a car, and I want you to practice driving. And then last night I drove him back to the hotel, and it was more of the same. That really hasn't changed, the driving stuff. But I do have a theory that I picked up from this conversation, and then we're gonna transition into, we got Jake Hatch coming on from Locked On BYU, Locked On Cougars. He's coming up shortly after this, I think in about 10 minutes. And I want to talk to him about BYU, their recruiting, how it compares to Baylor's recruiting and the rest of the Big 12's recruiting in the offseason, football, basketball, and where that athletic department is headed, because it's a heady time if you're a Cougars fan right now. And it's a special time. But it's also like, what's the sustainability? Not just for them, for anybody. And those were a lot of the conversations we had last night when I was with those guys. And they give a different perspective to a lot of the things we talk about here every day. Because as much as I'm on the road calling college games and talking to college coaches, these guys are doing the same thing with NBA coaches. And it's funny because they talk about the NBA, how different it is with guys and load management, keeping them healthy. You know, the big thing I took from that, without giving away any secrets, talking with them last night, is that these organizations look like they're making so much money, but they're actually not. And that is something that I think we're seeing now. I think we saw it with the Luka move. You know, I was asking those guys, you know, and this is on the record. It's not, they to a man are like, the Mavs just did not want to pay Luka, you know, that Supermax deal. And as much as you can point to, like Scotty and I did yesterday, well, they're losing money now since they traded him. They were losing money anyways, people would say. And this is all, I mean, look, I'm just telling you what I was told. I still don't agree with it. I still think it's a crazy trade. But the reasoning behind it is because Nico Harrison is on marching orders from his bosses. Hey, we don't want to do this. And Nico Harrison, Rob Pelinka is like one of his best friends. So imagine your best friend and the conversations you have, and how sometimes the two of you can be like, yeah, let's just do it. Come on. You know, like that's kind of, the more and more I learned, that's sort of the genesis of that trade, right? Was a relationship between those two dudes. But back to my theory that I picked up. We are the days, and I want you to, we're going to clip this, because not so much to put it up on social media, because it's going to get a ton of traction. I don't even think people care about this. I just really want to share it. You should care about it. That's the problem. The days of the great storyteller, it's over. It's over. And I want you to stay with me here. When I was a kid, you know, fortunate enough to work in sports, fortunate enough to have relationships with players and coaches off the field. And you had really colorful guys, right? You had really charismatic guys. You had guys who connected with people, right? Like that was what they were all about, connecting with people. And a lot of times connecting with people comes through, obviously, a spirited conversation and also spirited storytelling. You know, back in the day, that's the worst, right? But there's a collection of guys out at a restaurant, and they're going around the table, imbibing, telling story after story after story till late in the night. Okay. And although some of these stories, right, you can say like, all right, these guys are blowhards, but it's entertaining. And it's gone. I mean, today's young athlete, today's young person is growing up with their head buried in a phone. After they leave, and this is I'm keeping this into the world of sports. You know, you get done, and we know this from being around players this day and age. They get done at practice, they head to their room, they're on their phones, they're playing games, they don't come out until it's time to come out and catch the bus, for the most part, right? Like if you get a guy who is really into other people and out of self, it's a guy like Jamal Shed, who, look, I'm sorry, he came from a Houston Cougars program where he was there for 5 years, and he learned at the foot of the master, someone like Kelvin Sampson. People are so adrift nowadays in sports and in college sports that you bounce from team to team, from society to society, and you do it with your head buried in a phone. I do not think, like, as this generation like moves on, even like some of my teammates from Richmond, we're talking about the late 90s into 2000s, like we get together, we still have so much fun telling these amazing stories. We can go for days. I don't think the communication skills are there anymore. I really don't. It's not as enjoyable. I've been out, and maybe when I'm out with some of these younger athletes and stuff, they're just holding it close to the vest. But I think for the most part, the ability to orate, right, and the ability to do it in front of a group of people, and to spend an entire evening, right, doing it that way is dying on the vine. And that's kind of a bummer. But it is the reality of the times we're in. And I thought about that last night. I was enjoying everything. You know, Matt has been with the Raptors for I think 17 years now. He was with the Hornets when I was with the Hornets. That's when he did TV. And some of the other stuff we talked about was, you know, the NBA draft and next year and what's going to happen with Cooper Flag. And I can tell you the more and more I start to read, listen to, talk to people like I was talking to last night with the Raptors. I'm lucky enough to be like to have an audience with those guys, thanks to Matt. But May 15th, like Cooper Flag, if the New Orleans Pelicans win the draft lottery and Cooper Flag, we could see we could very not very likely it's out there, and I'm not saying like Pelicans fans should start clutching their pearls right now because we're not even to the point where maybe you win the lottery, but we could see another like player empowerment type situation that we saw. Oh, and it's not going to be, I don't want anybody to freak out and be like, oh my God, it's the new day and age. It would actually harken back to a time when I was younger. I mean, I saw it with John Elway. I mean, I didn't see it. I was actually too young. But, as I grew up watching Elway playing for the Broncos, I can remember, a little sports nut like I was, reading all the books and reading the Sports Illustrateds. I would be like, wait a minute, Dad, like this guy was going to get drafted by the Baltimore Colts and he wouldn't play for them? It was like, as a young kid, you're like, what? And then as I get older, and there were other situations like that. I remember in the NBA, the last time it's happened in the NBA, and I remember it, was Danny Ferry was out of Duke, was going to get drafted by the Clippers. And his dad, Bob Ferry, had been a general manager and was a scout in the NBA. And he was like, no way are you going to play for the Clippers. Like, we cannot let that happen. So they forced a deal where he was going to go to Europe, or maybe he went to Europe for a minute, and he ended up playing for the Cavs. We haven't really seen it in the NBA since then. We could very well see it with Cooper Flag this year because everyone is talking about, okay, you've got to get to that second contract, right, where you can get that second max. Well, truth be told, he can actually go back to Duke. Duke can give him, let's say Duke gives him, and this is not out of the realm of possibility. And I hate to get bogged down and talk money and free agency all the time because we want to celebrate the greatest of college sports. But this is this is a major deal we're riding shotgun with here. He could get $15 million to go back to Duke, and the university, right, or CAA, his agency, could take out an insurance policy with like Lloyd's of London against him getting hurt for like $100 million bucks. And he's a guy that's from Maine. Like, I think we get a little. So I think we take the actual individual or the person out of this process. And if you're Cooper Flag and you say, hey, I don't even have to be like a huge prick about it. I can just go back to college at Duke, and then I can play another year and see who has the lottery selection, the top pick next year, right? If somebody like maybe it's not somebody like AJ DeBonston. We're going to talk with Jake Hatch about guys like that coming up here in a second. But you could see, and it wouldn't be unprecedented, but it would be a harken back to the times of, hey, we don't think this is a good fit for our guy. We're going to go back to school, and it's much more fluid now, where you don't have to. And I think it's a good thing for college basketballs and for the players. Probably not the best thing for the NBA and a city like New Orleans, but be ready for that. And be ready for, we got Todd McShay's coming on next Thursday, by the way. I firmed it up with him. We're going to talk about the NFL draft. We're going to have my man Steve Mensch join us as well. That'll be a blast. Not next Wednesday, next Wednesday. So we're pumped for that. But yeah, it's draft time. It's off-season time. And one of the biggest stories this offseason has been BYU basketball. And Jake Hatch has been kind enough to join us. He is a busy dude. He is locked on all the time. He's buddies with Drake Toll. So we'll make an exception. But we're coming back with Jake Hatch after this break. The Pete Sousa Show presented by Slovacic. Remember, like, subscribe. All clips and the segments are cut up on YouTube afterwards. So if you're too busy in the morning, which I know a lot of people are, you can get it there later on. We will be right back after this short break.
We'll be right back after these quick words from our sponsors. This is Rogue Media Network.
Level up your game with Corsair, the global leader in high-performance gear for gamers, content creators, and PC enthusiasts. From award-winning PC components to premium streaming equipment, smart lighting, and esports coaching services, Corsair delivers an ecosystem designed for peak performance. Whether you're a casual gamer or a pro, alleviate your setup with Corsair. Shop now at Corsair.com. That's Corsair.com. Corsair.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farms, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com.
At Fullwell, we bring together the expertise of registered dietitians, MDs, and OBGYNs to give you the best fertility support. Our research-backed bioavailable formulas are crafted with your health in mind, ensuring the highest quality and safety. From preconception to pregnancy and beyond, we exceed industry standards with independent testing for harmful contaminants. With our comprehensive practitioner directory, personalized care is always within reach. Fullwell, your trusted partner on your fertility journey. Visit us at fullwellfertility.com. At Mitzi, we believe the right light can transform any space. Born from a third-generation lighting family, we craft beautifully designed, premium lighting that's made to be affordable. Inspired by Grandma Mitzi's eclectic style, we're on a mission to make high-quality lighting accessible to all. Whether you're updating your space or adding a unique fixture, Mitzi has the perfect design for you. Beautiful, well-made lighting without the high price tag. Discover your perfect light at Mitzi.com. That's MITZI.com. Mitzi.
And now, back to our show.
There he is, Jake Hatch from Locked On Cougs. What's happening, man?
Not too much, Pete. Thanks for having me. How are you, sir?
Dude, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. I know you're a busy, dude. I've been circling you for a long time. I've poached a lot of your information for shows I've done and games I've called, and you do an amazing job. So I really appreciate you, dude.
I appreciate that. It's good to be on the show. I've watched you for quite a while myself. So.
Oh, man. Yeah, I was blessed last year. I got a big chunk of games out in Provo, and it was one of the more exciting experiences I've ever had. A guy who grew up on the East Coast, watching the Big East, and thinking that is, the Mecca, right? Madison Square Garden, all that stuff. And you don't pay, and it doesn't mean that can't be true in one regard, but you don't pay attention to or pay the respect probably to a lot of basketball out on the West Coast. And with the expansion of the Big 12, getting the opportunity to go to the Marriott Center. And I mean, last year when that banner drops and they're doing the starting lineups, dude, and they're playing Travis Scott, I mean, if you don't have goosebumps, dude, you got a problem I can't solve.
Well, and that's the thing about this is I have watched team after team come into the Marriott Center, even Big 12 and otherwise teams. All of a sudden that banner drops and all of a sudden you start hearing the music and you can see those teams kind of pause and kind of look around and say, what exactly is going on? But it's an incredible environment. BYU fans are absolutely awesome.
Yeah, as broadcasters, we can hide behind cougar tails. The guys on the court can't do that, dude. They're out there. That's it. It's go time.
Yep.
So listening to, honestly, this goes back to the fall. I can remember you, and I texted Cam Stewart after this. You had brought up, and it was like, I'm not trying to get like, downtrodden or kind of melancholy, but you brought up your grandfather, I think. He used to take you to Cougs games all the time when you were a kid, right?
Yes,
And you got a little emotional. And afterwards, I texted Cam. I was like, dude, who is the guy that does Locked On Cougs? And he said, Jake Hatch, dude, great guy. I was like, he's unbelievable. Like, it was really compelling. So that brings me to my first question for you. You are like a BYU lifer, right? Thanks to someone like your grandfather.
Yes.
You've seen a lot of BYU sports. Has there been a time that you can remember that there has been this much national excitement around the athletic department, particularly basketball?
Well, if you want to use my grandfather's example, he'd probably point to the 1980s, late 70s to 1980s, when BYU basketball was really, really good with Danny Ainge, obviously running things on the basketball court. But then you had guys like Jim McMahon, Steve Young, and ultimately 1984 when they won the national title. That's probably the closest it's ever been to what we're experiencing right now. BYU's finally back on the big stage, Pete. They have been wanting to be at this level of sports for decades. They tried to get into the Pac-10 multiple times in the 90s. They tried to get into the Big 12 in the mid-20 teens. They're finally on this level, and you can tell they're excited to be here, but more importantly, they're competing very, very well at this level just 2 years into their Big 12 tenure.
We're going to stay on the basketball court. I do want to ask you a little bit about Kalani Sitake and football, because it's funny, like that's our next big big theater coming up. But for the basketball offseason, it's been crazy. And King McClure put me on to Kevin Young early. Like he was just like, dude, this is in the offseason. He's like, I love this hire. I just think this is going to be so awesome for BYU. And I was kind of like, I wasn't sure. I didn't really know either way. But clearly King and a lot of other guys who know a lot more about basketball than I do were correct. What is Kevin Young doing that is so special? That makes that program so alluring for not only the player, but the person?
I think it's because he does not try and do too much in essence. There's a lot of college basketball coaches out there. I can think of the Rick Pitino's. I can think of many coaches out there who make it seem like it's all about them. That's one thing that Kevin Young has proven, is that he is more of a player's coach. He wants the players to shine, and he's happy to shrink back into the shadows. I think that comes from years and years and years as a player development coach at the NBA level, both at the G League and at the NBA level. He understands that the players, they make the plays on the court. Yes, he may put them in position to succeed, and that's his ultimate goal, is to allow them to exceed. But he wants more than anything else to be known as a player's coach and empower them to go out and make the plays that will ultimately lead to wins and the glory that BYU chases.
You mentioned his NBA affiliation and being a player's coach. Is part of the attraction the fact that obviously BYU, especially BYU, is an institution. It's a school, right? It's not some place where my coach at Richmond used to say, like, if you want to go to UMass, we can stick a candy bar under your arm, and if it melts, you can get in. Like that's not BYU, right?
Yeah.
So these are students who are attracted to this program, but there's also that aspect of this is a guy from the NBA that can get you to the next level, and at the very least, teach you what you need to do to get there.
And that's the best point you make right there, Pete, is he has guys on speed dial. He could call up a Joel Embiid and have him talk to a big man and say, hey, Joel, tell these guys what I did for you in Philadelphia. With AJ DeBonsa, he called up Kevin Durant and said, hey, KD, can you talk to this kid for me? We have guys like Devin Booker, who coined the term KYU when he got the job. He said, he's getting paid. I'm happy for him. He has got really, really special relationships with a lot of big names in the NBA, and the ability for him to be able to say to these guys, hey, I coached up this guy. I coached up that guy at the NBA level. That's very alluring to young players. And I think a guy like AJ DeBonsa, that's a big reason why I think he trusts what Kevin Young has done as a player development coach and understands that he's going to put him in the best position possible for that 2026 NBA draft.
You talk about a guy like DeBonsa coming, obviously one of the biggest recruits in the country, and that is so essential for BYU. And again, like it gets more dominoes to fall. Mm-hmm. I thought having the opportunity to go out to Salt Lake and call some Utah games, it was very clear, and this isn't a knock on what's going on with the Utes, but it was like a stark contrast to what I was experiencing the year prior in Provo. And it was clear that there was going to be a change, that they wanted to make a change. But were you surprised at how they not stole the blueprint, but they tapped into the blueprint that BYU had used with Kevin Young? And now they go out, I mean, it was a carbon copy, basically. Yeah. I mean, a little bit more connection to the school, right, with Alex Jensen. But you get my drift. Is there a feeling out there amongst Cougar fans and folks in Provo that it was kind of a copycat situation?
In a word, yes. Here's the deal. Alex Jensen, very well-known coach. I think a lot of Utah and BYU fans know him from his time with the Utah Jazz, much like Kevin Young as a player development coach. He's a guy Rudy Gobert credits with maybe the most impactful coach he had at the NBA level to get Rudy to where he's at as an all-pro / defensive player of the year candidate seemingly annually. And that's a credit to what Alex Jensen meant. The other thing about this is I'm a kid, as you mentioned, that grew up in this state. I watched the Rick Majerus era Utes. I watched Alex Jensen, crazily enough, in high school, playing for a high school called Viewmont. He was such a good player, and he was phenomenal. And all he's done the entire time, both as a player and as a coach, is he has been much like Kevin Young in being very empowering to the players and making sure they're in a position to succeed. But yeah, Utah's following BYU's blueprint. We saw Florida State do a similar deal. I think this is kind of the future of college basketball coaching, especially when it comes to this NIL and transfer portal era.
Where are the Cougars right now with Rob Wright? As far as you know, and your reporting, that was a gut-wrenching deal. You know, I'm based out of Waco, and I covered Rob a bunch. I'm from Philadelphia. He's from Philadelphia. One of the best guys ever. You know, it gets so there's such a gray area, right? Who knows what, blah, blah, blah. But like, you know, rumor has it he's going to BYU. Where is that process at as far as what you know? Because if there's one void that BYU has, it's point guard right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm fully expecting them to make an announcement at any point now of him signing with the Cougars. There's been multiple reports from other outlets that he has indeed signed. I haven't been able to confirm that quite yet, but when you have that much smoke around it, it sure feels like it's a done deal. The one thing I love about Rob Wright, and I said this on my podcast, he's a pit bull out there. He understands he's not the biggest guy on the court, but I say it all the time. It's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. And you can tell that kid's got some fight. He torched BYU in the second half of that matchup in Provo. He had 18 of his 22 points in the second half in overtime, and what was maybe one of the single most entertaining games in the Big 12 season between the Bears and the Cougars back in January. So he brings everything BYU needs: ability to drive and kick, ability to play pick and roll, make Keba Keita that lob threat that Jaeger Demon made him last year. Yeah, Jaeger Demon was 6'9", and Rob's listed at 6'1". Doesn't matter. They're both very effective, and I think that Rob Wright is a tailor-made fit for what Kevin Young's looking for right now.
I can tell BYU fans, Rob Wright is wise beyond his years. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was, you know, Jeremy Roach was supposed to be the guy that they turned over the keys to that offense to this year, and Rob just took those keys right away. You know, and it wasn't like he, you know, it wasn't like his mission. It was literally like just what happened, because you couldn't deny it. It was undeniable. I think one thing, too, that we missed on here, I missed, right? Because I felt like Rob Wright might go to Villanova. We're all tracking all this stuff. And, you know, and again, Villanova, Baylor, BYU, they're all spiritual universities and institutions. Rob is that guy. Regardless of where he's going to end up, it does not surprise me that he went to a school like BYU, which is real strong in its faith. And I think that the BYU, and this is my opinion, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like I see it with Scott Drew. He's so genuine and authentic with the message he delivers about what you'll get as a basketball player and what you'll get as a human. Do you see some of that coming through in the ability for the Cougars to get some of these great players, that there's also a personal connection that's being built in a day and age where it's more like, hey, roster numbers, you know, salary numbers, how many minutes, it's much different.
Well, that's a very good point you make. And the thing is, just go watch what Jaeger Demon had to say when he announced he's going to the NBA. He spent more than 15 minutes just espousing everything that BYU meant to him, even though he was in Provo, I think all told about 8 or 9 months. He wasn't here very long, and he's going to be likely kind of middle part of the first round, it looks like, based on the projections. But he was very effusive in saying that BYU means a ton to him. He's a kid from Moscow, Russia, played at Real Madrid over there in Europe. He had no real connections to BYU other than Travis Hansen, who's a former BYU basketball player, came to Provo, absolutely thrived in this environment. I think AJ DeBonsa will thrive in this environment. I think a guy like Rob Wright. The thing about BYU is you mentioned it's a spiritually based university. It's sponsored by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and they will hold to their standards. Kevin Young's been very clear that, yes, we will develop guys for the NBA, but at the same time, we want to make sure that they have a good experience playing in Provo and understand that this is a community, speaking of BYU, that literally stretches worldwide due to its church connections. There's politicians, there's business leaders, there's people across the spectrum. If you want to connect with people, BYU's got an amazing network. And even if you're here for 1 or 4 years, you have a chance to tap into that and at the same time have a very enriching experience alongside playing big time hoops.
Dude, it's I so appreciate like how you break that down. The finances of it too are something people are talking about a lot. We've been talking about it this week on the show. $7 million is a lot, right? For a guy like AJ DeBonsta. Where is this money coming from? Like is it because we were speculating and we had the best interaction with some Cougars fans this week, and they educated us, dude. Yeah. Because you think, okay, it's the Church of Latter-day Saints. Clearly, the Church of Latter-day Saints, and forgive me if I'm mixing up any terminology, but they're not cutting the checks to these guys, So for people that don't quite understand how it's being funneled to these young players, can you break it down?
Yeah, so essentially BYU's got a big network of boosters, and there's an area about 20 miles north of Provo. It's a city called Lehi, Utah. That city has become what they call the Silicon Slopes of Utah. And we're talking tech entrepreneurs up and down that corridor who have developed either multi-million or multi-billion-dollar companies. Ryan Smith, the owner of the Utah Jazz and the Utah Hockey Club, he founded Qualtrics, which is right in there. There's multiple companies, and the vast majority of the founders of those businesses are BYU graduates. They have founded these companies and they want nothing more than to help BYU succeed at a high level. BYU's never going to pay guys under the table, Pete. That for years, you heard all these rumors about these programs paying players under the table. BYU wasn't going to play that game. That's just not something they're about. Now that it's above board and these boosters are able to contribute to NIL and allow these players to make money, they're all in on it, and they're contributing significant amounts of money. We had one booster tell ESPN's Myron Metcalf, I think one of your compatriots at ESPN, we won't be outbid. Well, if that's the truth, the money's been put where their mouth is, because as you mentioned, AJ DeBonsta, rumored anywhere between $7 and $8 million. In the case of Rob Wright, there's reports out that it's 3.5. I've heard it's a little bit lower than that, but still, anything north of $2 million is a pretty significant amount of money for a college basketball player to make. And this extends over into BYU football. These boosters are ultra motivated. And the nice part is there's dozens of them out there that are willing to contribute to the bottom line.
All right, let's get to BYU football before we let you go. What is the vibe right now around that football program headed into one of the most highly anticipated seasons, I would imagine, in recent history?
They're excited. Obviously, they broke through last year, 11 wins, a really phenomenal campaign, especially considering we were talking about, okay, maybe they go 6-6, 7-5, get back to a bowl game after going 5-7 in their first year. The fact that they did what they did and ultimately capped it off with that thrilling Alamo Bowl win down there in San Antonio, it was a really, really fun football season, but they know they were quite literally inches away from playing in the Big 12 title game. And that's the prime motivation for this team, Pete. They bring the vast majority of the contributors from last year's team back to this team, and talking to them throughout spring camp, they've already finished up their spring ball period. They were very clear that they understand how close they were to playing in the Big 12 title game, and they fully intend on breaking through this year and hopefully making it to the college football playoff.
What are you most excited about as far as BYU football is concerned?
I'm looking forward to seeing the leap that Jake Retzloff can take in this final year. There's been a lot of people who have been concerned that he may be limiting BYU's offense and holding them back from really achieving what they want to achieve. I think this is a kid, and he's proven it time and time again, that when the chips are down, he is going to go out there and prove people wrong. He's working hard, and Aaron Roderick, BYU's offensive coordinator, set some pretty high benchmarks for what he expects of him this coming season. And the history suggests, Pete, if you look back through the past 50 years of BYU football, when they have had a senior quarterback, more often than not, they've had some pretty special seasons. And last year was pretty special at 11-2. Could they cap it with a 12-0 or 13-0 run? We'll see what happens.
Yeah, as a guy who's affiliated with the Big 12 like I am, I'm looking forward to some of that. I'm pumped. Last question. How do you deal with Drake Toll?
Let's see. Very carefully. No, I love Drake. We've become really, really good friends. He absolutely kills it doing Locked On Big 12. I know that you're compatriots with him working down there in Waco from his time in that area as a Baylor guy. But I love Drake. He has got a very eccentric personality. And it bleeds through. If you watch his shows and the work he does an incredible job. The best thing I can say about him, Pete, is he's working with Savannah Bananas, and my mother-in-law is just a gigantic Savannah Bananas fan. They came through Salt Lake City last year, and she wanted to go to the game, so we all went, my wife and I and her, and I called up Drake and said, Drake, I need your help. I need you to surprise my mother-in-law. And he said, let's do it. and she had no clue what was happening. All of a sudden, he brings some of the Savannah Bananas players as well as the party animals over, and they're like, "Hi, are you Kim?" And you should have seen her face just light up. So that's everything that Drake is about. Is he is an incredible human being and a really, really good friend.
I got season tickets to Drake. I got season tickets to you too, man. Jake Hatch, thank you so much, dude.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime you need me, give me a holler, and I would love to have you back on if you ever get a shot, man.
Absolutely. Let me know. We'll do it.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jake Hatch. We got Gary Bohannon coming up next. Dude's getting ready to play in the NFL. He's training right now. Of course, we love him here in Central Texas. He's a stud. We got Gary Bohannon coming up next. Stay with us. Pete Sousa Show presented by Slovacics.
We'll be right back after these quick words from our sponsors. This is Rogue Media Network.
Founded in 1910, Samsonite is the world leader in durable, high-quality luggage and travel accessories. Made to the highest standards, our products won't let you down. We give you the confidence to get out there and explore. Inspired by the past, devoted to the present, and built to inspire a multi-generational future, Samsonite is here to elevate your journey. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. Samsonite. Dive into adventure with scuba.com, your ultimate destination for top-tier scuba and snorkeling gear. With over 20 years of experience, our expert staff, who've dived everywhere from the Galapagos to the Maldives, provides personalized advice to help you find the perfect gear for any underwater journey. Shop leading brands like GoPro, Aqualung, and Scuba Pro. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, trust scuba.com for the best in diving equipment and expert guidance. Explore now at scuba.com. That's SCUBA.com. Scuba.com. At Terrapin Ridge Farms, they believe in the joy of effortless entertaining. Inspired by CEO Mary O'Donnell's mom and her legendary holiday parties, they've crafted a line of gourmet foods that turn any meal into a celebration. From savory jams to mustards, aiolis, and more, their products are made with love, bringing unforgettable flavors to your table. Whether it's a casual get-together or a special occasion, they make it easy to impress. Terrapin Ridge Farms, where great food and great memories come together. Visit them at terrapinridge.com. Terrapin Ridge. Want to turn your passion into profit? With Blogify, creating a blog has never been easier. Build, customize, and grow your site with powerful tools designed for beginners and pros alike. Start sharing your story today and watch your audience grow with Blogify. Visit blogify.ai today for a free 3-day trial. That's Blogify, Blogify.ai today.
And now, back to our show.
The Pete Sousa Show, presented by Slovacics, is very happy to bring on board right now Gary Bohannon, a guy who brought us a lot of joy in Central. Gary, what's happening, man?
Nothing much. How you doing?
Hey, dude, thank you so much for taking the time.
No problem at all. I'm sorry I couldn't get on sooner. I'm kind of don't be on Twitter so much, so I wasn't checking my messages.
Really, really appreciate it. Now, so where are you right now?
Currently at my mom's right now in Memphis.
Are
Right now,
you in Arkansas?
Yes, sir. Well, Memphis. My mom live in Memphis, so.
Okay. Now let's go back to your roots. You grew up in Erie, Arkansas, right?
Earl,
Arkansas. So growing up in a small town like that, what did that do to create the Gary Bohannon that we all got to enjoy watching you at Baylor, and then they got to enjoy at USF and BYU? But specifically here in Baylor, again, like I said, you brought a lot of happiness to the fan base here. And it came through, your grittiness came through. Where does that come from?
just the way my parents were growing up. My parents were really detailed and put a lot of time into making sure that when we did things, we were committed to doing those things. So for me, I want to be a guy that was able to come out of a small town and get to live a dream that a lot of people wanted to live before me. And so for me, it was always thinking about coming from a town with a population of 2,000, 3,000 people and everybody getting that experience and living that experience through me. So for me, just growing up, everybody saying, oh, you won't be able to make it to play Division I football and be a quarterback at that from that small town was something I always had on my shoulder. And just being able to live out a dream that I would see on TV and just to hear about from older guys, my family members, my dad, my uncles, everybody played football. So for me, I want to be the one that actually got to go do it and everybody shares that common experience together.
Was there a guy you watched as a kid? Like for me as a broadcaster, I used to love like Brent Musburger, right? Like so, and he made me feel like I could do it as a broadcaster because I felt like he jumped through the screen at me. Was there a guy that you watched, whether it was quarterback or any other position, that you were like, that's me. Like that's what I want to do.
Honestly, I watched Cam Newton a lot growing up. But to say, so for me, I watched him because I was like, okay, I want to go to Auburn. That was the guy that I felt like I kind of played like. But for me, it was kind of different in my mind because I didn't feel like I could research. I didn't really know anybody that came from the situation I came from. So
Yeah.
it was like really a dream. Like it was like seriously a dream. So it was like, how can I make this dream reality? If I outwork not the people that I'm working out with right now, if I can have the mindset of everybody else in the world in Florida, Texas, they have all these resources and they're working. How much work can I get in to put myself in a position to be in that position that Cam Newton's in? How can I get that scholarship? How can I play at that level? And so that was kind of my mindset with everything.
What drew you to a school like Baylor?
It was I'm not a logo chaser. I come from a small town. So it's about being different, standing out. And for me, I want to go to a place where previously had not had a good record, previously had not been a good team, and I want to go and not be a number or a statistic, but be a guy that could create something that everybody will remember, have an amazing season, or possibly potentially end up with the best record in Baylor history as a season. So for me, it was about doing something different. I've always been different, coming from the situation I came from, coming from where I came from, and so it's for me not to go try to play at a program that's already established, but let me go somewhere where I can make a difference and the way I connect with the fans and we get to share this experience, similar to how it was for me in high school.
When you were on the field under center running things for Baylor, it was very clear that the rest of the team wanted to follow you. There's something that's happening when a certain guy is the leader of the team at quarterback, but it changes the way the defense plays. Like, were you aware of that, your leadership qualities, and where do you think that comes from?
Match it. It's gonna stem down to when I first ever started playing football. Everybody wanted to have fun, joke, play. But for me, it was when I first started playing football, it was I wanted to be the best when I walked out here. So for me, I was never into being the same, being liked, fitting in. This is what I care about. This is what I love. This is going to get my attention. It's going to get my very best. And I think when I first got to Baylor, people would tell you I was not a vocal leader, but you always saw me working. You're going to see me maxing out doing everything. I'm talking about giving it everything I got. And so I think it started there because I was not playing at first. I was the backup. And so seeing a guy consistently come in and work and work and work and find ways to get better and challenge each other, challenge other guys to get better, and just to come in and do it every day with a smile on his face, knowing he's not going to play. And so seeing a guy that consistently do that, you instantly get a respect for him. And so that was the first step, the respect part. And now a little bit of time goes by, and it's time and go through the competition, end up getting a job and becoming the quarterback. But I think I honestly felt like I was a leader before I ever touched the field. I was a leader on the team and was not playing. But it was because of the way I worked. So growing up, I was waking up like I was a chubby kid. I turn on the TV, I see guys with six packs and muscles. I'm like, I want to look like that. So I'm like 12 years old. I tell my mom, can you give me some resistance bands? She's like, you're not lifting weights. So I'm like, okay. You wake up, come outside, and I'm gonna run under the garage, run in place as much as I can, do as many sit-ups as I can in a day, then a minute push-ups and do some resistance band. And then I put myself on a schedule to wake up and do 300 to 500 of each every day. And so committing to doing that was like, okay, let me change my body. That was the first step in it. Let me change my body. And that happened. So next thing you know, I get to playing ball and okay, I want to be different. I was the only thing about it, there's no 12-year-old waking up doing this unless
Yeah,
somebody's
no,
making them.
not at all.
This was me wanting to do this just from turning on the TV. And so it was my mindset with that kind of transferred over into me playing sports. So my mom worked, took care of 3 kids, and went to school at the same time. Barely slept, never complained about it. So for me, seeing that every single day before I ever started playing a sport, that made me understand if I work and I just keep working, I keep working, I keep working, I can live the dream that I want to live.
Let me tell you something. That's an inspiring story, and it makes me feel so good, but it also makes me kind of sad that the climate of college sports now sort of eliminates that opportunity for a guy to build as a leader because everybody now comes in almost as like a free agent.
I want to play right now, and if I can't play, I'm leaving.
What do you make of that?
I'm not a I'm a fan of the transfer portal just because it is in favor for us, the players. But I don't. Anytime I get a chance to talk to a kid, I that is the part I try to educate them on. Me personally, when I don't get me wrong, I was really good. I was really good, big guy, a
Yes,
lot of
you were.
potential. I was not ready to play. I didn't want to play. My first year, I didn't want to play. I wanted to get in and learn. I wanted to develop. I wanted to learn how to read covers. I want to learn how to understand the offense. I want to learn what it's like to be a college quarterback. I wanted to learn that and see that. I didn't want to play. I wanted to see that. Same now. I don't want to like NFL. Of course, that's the dream. Everybody want to go in there and play. I want to go in there and sit and learn the NFL. I want to be developed. And then now it's like kids have so much ego and pride so young that they don't want to sit and learn. They know everything. When every great athlete, every great business owner, every great broadcaster, you learn. Every day there's something to learn from somebody in every situation. Nowadays, kids they just don't want to learn. So for me, anytime I get to talk to a kid, learn. Have that learners and growers mindset with everything you do and everything. I'm talking about every single thing that you do and experience. Have that mindset. And that's like, I don't know if it's the internet, I don't know, COVID, being at home, I don't know what did it, but it's like the mindset shifted. The mindset shifted. And so it's like for me, if I could kind of shift it back just a little bit with maybe my story or something I can say at the time, maybe it resonates a little bit and causes that shift. So that's what I try to do. And don't get me wrong, I promise I'm a fan of the transfer portal. I was in it twice. So I'm a fan of it, which I didn't want to be, but that's just how life works. So um I will say I'm a fan of it for the players, but guys have to understand you don't want to get out there and not be ready. Like put your pride to the side. I know you want to make all this money, do all this, but all that's gonna come when you are ready to play and you get out there and play at a high level. And
So
so it's like, what you gonna say?
no, you mentioned the NFL, and so I want to jump in there. Where I love your mentality and how it has to do with your process and your preparation. Where are you right now in preparing for an opportunity in the NFL?
Ready. But I'm gonna put it like that. I played good in 2021 at Baylor. Played good at USF until I got injured. I would say right now I'm much better, well, a lot better mentally, physically, and I'm a much better Gary Bohannon right now. So for me, I'm ready for that opportunity more than anyone in the draft. I feel like I have the potential and abilities that anybody they gonna turn that film on and see. I feel like I have it. I just had a crazy story, crazy injury, and for me, it's been a battle. But I worked this hard since I was 12. I mean, come on, just come on. Give me the
what
opportunity. You won't regret it.
What's the team getting with Gary Bohannon?
They getting a man, a leader, a determined guy, somebody that's not hungry but starving, that needs it, that wants it, that's itching, that has not one chip on the shoulder but many chip on the shoulder, and a guy that's gonna make a difference, not only as a player but as a person, and he's gonna impact everybody around him, and a guy that's gonna come in and show up every single day and gonna outwork everybody every single day because he wants it. He's been through a lot and it's been taken away from him. You take things for granted, but that being taken away from me woke up someone different. And for me, just come get me. Just come get me.
What is so it's so interesting because you do have the game tape, right? Like
Yes, sir.
you can present to the NFL, to organizations, but you've also got this, right? This charisma, this personality. I heard you were such a likable dude, and it's clear. And I also appreciate the fact that sometimes people can tell, I'm a nice guy, but I can be a people pleaser. I like how you started off saying, you have to do, things that you're not comfortable with doing that can make other people uncomfortable. That's how
Exactly.
you become a winner. So
Yeah.
how are you getting this personality in front of organizations before? Are you getting feedback from teams? Are you talking to teams? Are you getting people? Are they getting the chance to meet you and know you?
So at Pro Day, I got to meet and sit with teams, talk to them after throwing, talk to them a little bit before, talk to a few teams after, and my agent's been talking to everybody. So I've been in contact with quite a bit of teams, but it's different just holding the conversation. And I'm not a guy I'll never pitch myself. See it for yourself. I'll never pitch myself. I'm authentic. I don't want to. I'm not gonna brag on myself. I'm not gonna bring up anything. I'm not gonna pitch myself. I'm not gonna try to sell myself. Being around me is gonna sell everything that needs to be sold because it's me. It's who I am. It's my mindset. That will never change. That's who I am. That's how I wake up every single day. And so for me, all I want is that opportunity. That opportunity for people to see it firsthand. Like you got this out a little bit like at Pro Day. You see how quarterbacks interact with me. You see how I'm complimenting everybody. I'm dapping everybody up. The wide receivers coming up talking to me. You see, that's not an act. That's literally who I am because I love what I do. I love the game. Like this is my passion. And I love to see other people have success. And so for me, is how can one thing that I think made me a great leader is I was gonna be here, but I was gonna naturally, not intentionally, bring everybody up to that. There's not many guys that can, like you said, that can get everybody around to play for them. That's just something with the way I operate, with my mindset, my heart, and my determination that just happens. So, I mean, you can turn on the film and see a guy that's a good player that runs fast, that throws far. But can you turn on the film and see that and also turn that film off and that guy is even better than what that film says? So that's kind of the thing with me.
I'm ready to run through a wall for you, Gary. So
I see some bricks back there. Let's get up and try real quick.
Hey, I want to thank you so much for the time and wish you the best of luck. For
Yes,
real,
sir. Thank you so
there's a
much
lot
for
of
having me
people in
on.
Central Texas that have a lot of great things to say about you, and there's also dudes in the Big 12 that are still scared of you. So
I just
appreciate it.
keep rolling. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for having me on.
All right, Gary Bohannon, take care, man.
Yes,
Best of
sir.
luck.
Thank you.
Gary Bohannon, man. Scotty, can you come on? Come on, Scotty. Come on for a second. I mean, how about that dude? You're muted. Unmute yourself.
There we go. Pete,
Yeah.
that just makes me all the more mad. He wasn't the starter in 2022, bro.
So
I was already angry about that. Now I'm more angry.
It's kind of a bummer, right?
I mean, like
I didn't want to put that on him, but what the heck, man? Why did that guy? Why did he get screwed for Blake Shapen?
Bro, I've been saying that since that offseason. Not to pat myself on the back. I just thought it was that obvious. And I like what he said there at the end because it's what I would have said if he hadn't said it. It's just a spirit of genuineness, authenticity. Like that guy is who he is. And that's the kind of player you want to be teammates with no matter what position they're playing, right? Like he just seems like a guy, like you said, like that, football players. I didn't play football at a high level, but most football players I talk to say you want guys you can go to war with, guys that you trust to do their 1/11th, right? Guys that are busting their butt on and off the field to get better. Like he checks every single box, and man, I know it is probably tough to project a guy that didn't really get to play this past season, getting a real shot in the league. But I really hope there's a team that brings him into camp with a real openness to what he can bring.
Yeah, you're exactly. You said it. He will get an invite to camp if he doesn't get drafted, And a lot of times that can be better for these guys because you get to kind of sit back
Right.
and say, okay, what's the best fit for us?
Exactly.
So, man, yeah, I mean, dude, he's got another fan right here. I'd never talked to him, just watched him, covered him a little, but like, wow, what a dude, man.
Yeah, really glad he came on. That was fun. I may have to try to snipe him this fall for Please Bear With Me and get him on again because that was awesome.
Are you doing Please Bear With Me Sunday?
Yep, we got Please Bear With Me Sunday night.
Sunday night, Please Bear With Me. Terrence Ganaway, Scotty Swingler. Don't miss it.
It's a good time.
It's a great time. And this was a great time today. I mean, Jake Hatch was awesome. Obviously, Gary was awesome. Scotty's awesome. We want everybody to have a great weekend. Scotty, man, appreciate you more than you know. Amazing job.
Much love, Pete. See you Monday.
All right, we'll see you guys Monday.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
We are Rogue Media Sports.